The shop was tucked away in a place beyond anyone's understanding. There, a thick fog, neither white nor gray, hung heavily in the air. But oddly, the space surrounding the shop, which was enclosed by neatly trimmed hedges, was as clear as crystal. It was almost as though the fog was parting for something, as if it had no choice but to keep its distance. In the center of this enclosure was an old wooden building. Atop its green triangular roof, a bronze weathercock stood proudly with its chest puffed out. Its beak stretched out wide towards the sky, but its voice, meant for announcing the hour, would never be heard. This isn't a place on a map. This isn't a place anywhere. It's a place in your heart. Welcome to the Vanishing Cherry Blossom Bookshop. I'm Zan, konnichiwa, aloha, buongiorno, and what's up? And welcome to the 31st installment of Project 4545 from the Spiraken Book Club. So let's actually get to it because we are 15 away from officially hitting the goal of 45. And I'm excited for this one because this is a little bit of a palate cleanser. That's kind of how I set it up because we've had a lot of more dramatic and darker stories as of late. I mean, we had a historical fiction set in Nazi Germany. We had a supernatural horror thriller involving possessed teddy bears. We had a thriller involving a billionaire and a woman trying to avenge her best friend. And then, of course, we had that lovely literary speech by Virginia Woolf. And now we're resetting off with our A letter with a book which is a little bit more relaxed, or actually, is it? Because today we're talking about, as I said in the opening, the Vanishing Cherry Blossom Bookshop. This is by Takuya Asakura and it came out in 2025. And it is a beautiful book which is set in a specific genre of novel. And what is the genre that I'm talking about? I am talking about iyashikei. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with what iyashikei is, well, I'm just going to show you the straight up definition, which is it literally translates to healing type. It's a genre of Japanese storytelling focused on quiet, comforting narratives without major conflict. These restorative, character driven books offer peaceful escape through everyday themes, gentle magical realism, and small joys providing soothing comfort for weary minds. And pretty much the setup of these books are that it's normal people involved in an anthology style where they show up at these weird locations that have something slightly mystical about them or unusual about them, and they end up being affected in some way to better themselves or change their happenstance. A great example of this is What You Need's in the Library, where you show up at the library, you get a book which is relating to your circumstances. There's Let's Prescribe You a Cat, which is the story of a location where if you show up and you have problems, the clinic prescribes you a cat to deal with the situation. Or the most popular of these is Before the Coffee Gets Cold. It's a story of a coffee shop where you go forward or backward in time one time based on the conditions, and you must finish your coffee before it gets cold and see what happens. And this is in the same vein of that. It is a unique story that is set in a coffee shop that is outside of time and space, kind of. Let me read the jacket copy so you can get an idea about what's going on. Welcome to the Cherry Blossom Bookshop, a haven for book lovers that only appears during the fleeting cherry blossom season. Nestled among the bloom of delicate petals, you'll find a sanctuary for those burdened by regret and past sorrows. Here, Sakura, the mysterious young owner, and her wise calico cat Kobako patiently awaits the arrival of souls in need of solace and healing. Told over 4 seasons, each visitor to the bookshop holds a book that bridges their past and present, guiding them towards understanding and acceptance. With the antique charm of the shop and the soothing aroma of freshly brewed coffee, Sakura and Kabako help their guests confront their lingering sadness through the power of stories, enabling them to move forward with renewed hope. So, as you can see, it is a unique situation involving a store which appears when needed during the Sakura season, and people arrive there and they have a moment to confront their past in a unique way. The only characters that show up in all of them are Sakura, the mysterious young owner that we don't know much about. By the fourth story, we do find a little bit about her backstory in a weird way, which feels very different than the rest of the Iyashikei books, because this one is more of kind of like a figment of people's imagination, kind of. We'll get to that in a moment. And then, of course, Kobako, the cat, because most of these need a cat. And this is separated into 4 stories. And they're actually happening in the bookshop in one day, but this is over a period of time. And it started off actually with our first story involves Mio. Mio is a woman whose mother just died, and she's gone home to set the affairs straight and take care of that apartment that she rented after not speaking to her mom for several years. She ends up at the bookshop after reading a mysterious book. Well, not mysterious, it's The Little Prince, and she ends up confronting this past. Next, we have Shingo. He is an older gentleman who is in a nursing home, and he's suffering from, it appears to be, Alzheimer's. It is him confronted with a promise he made his wife that he can't remember, who has passed on, and he ends up at the shop after reading 10 Nights of Solace by Natsuki Sosako. And it's him remembering the promise after meeting Sakari and Kobako. And then our third story is involving a pair of twins who they are reminiscing about a young friend who died when he was a child before they set apart. One is staying home, one's going to college. And it's them kind of working with the past of the young boy who never grew up while reading Peter Pan. Last but not least, you have a story which is connected to this story because apparently it reveals the truth of the shop, which is kind of convoluted, involving the author themselves, but it's a different author. So take it what you will. And this is a story about memories and past regrets. And it's something which is beautiful about this story. And actually, the first quote from this book, which I remember, which I think is one of my favorite, fits this so well. And that's simple, which is, once created, memories and words will never be erased. Even if you forget yourself completely, that will never mean that you did not exist. You see, when a tree falls in a forest and no one is there to hear it, it still makes a sound. And that is the point of these. It's no matter what, you're never going to forget things. These moments, these elements, they're there ingrained in you. Even if once they're created, that moment still exists. And while, yes, you may be the only one who remember it, it doesn't mean it didn't happen. Or in the case of Shingo, even though he's not going to remember the shop, not going to remember Sakura or Kobako, it still happened, and it's kind of important, kind of beautiful in that moment. And the story is generally what I would call a palate cleanser book. What do I mean by palate cleanser? Well, whenever you read an intense book or an exciting book, sometimes you need to reset things. Maybe you read something saucy like the Hand, Handmaid's Tale, or you read The Housemaid. You need something just kind of, I need to take my mind off this. It was too crazy for me. You read a palate cleanser to get your mind off it. And this is one of those ones that does it. However, however, compared to the other iyashikis I've read, this is kind of weak because this one, it's not a real shop. It's not like it exists there. It's not the situation of, oh, anyone can get there. And that is the case with a lot of them where it's specific rules to get to the location. I get that. But this one's like it didn't exist in the world. It's just kind of like it's something else. So this whole story is not real. It's almost a dream. Reminds me a little bit of a novel I read, a manga I read a while ago called I Had That Same Dream Again, where it's happening in real time, but it's also happening in the dream. It kind of is confusing. However, I digress, being a little off topic. So, how is this? Is it great? Is it bad? Well, one, it's okay. The descriptions are very repetitive. It is very monotone, which is the thing with most iyashikis. And some people find that wonderful and amazing. Some people are going to find this mind-numbingly dull. It's the same repetition of this is the shop, and she needs to find a book, and she argues with Kobako, and then we find out what's going on, and then it takes its time. And this is a one shot. There is no sequel to this. This isn't like Before the Coffee Gets Cold. This isn't like Food Detectives. There's no sequel after this. I don't see how there could be a sequel because of the parameters set in this. Um, but sometimes you don't need that, and because it's about a love of books, and that is important. And actually, second quote is kind of fitting that because it's words hold such immense power. A book is a door to the unknown. It warmly welcomes those who step inside and transport them to all sorts of times and places. And this is very similar to the astral library, where it's the a place as a refuge from your problems or to help you deal with it. And this kind of focuses on that. It kind of focuses on that through these four books, which you really want to read. The Little Prince is considered one of the greatest children's books of all time, but it's not really a children's book. It's a little more than that. Same thing with uh, 10 Nights of Solace. It's a book which is kind of important. And Peter Pan, well, Peter Pan is iconic Peter Pan. Should I say any more? Not really. So, pros about this book: you have that very relaxing style to it, which is calming. The stories, first two are amazing. Third one, kind of rough. Fourth one, you have some good stories in this. One addition which I found wonderful to it is that there's actually a Spotify list with this. There's a playlist for all of the for the entire book, and it's pretty good. They're all based on Sakura themed. One of them is Cherry Blossom by Claudio Constantina, Flower by Paniolo and Akio Watanabe, Waterfall by Rice Wine, Cherry Blossom by Joshua Bassett, and Sakura by Ikimonoga Kari. And these songs are nice. They're good. I would prefer ones which don't have a lot of words, because a lot of these do have a lot of lyrics, so you kind of get dropped out of the book. But it was a nice addition to add this. Also, the design of the book, like I said, the French foils in this. You have this beautiful foil design with the sakura blossoms adding to the accent. And this is one of those ones where you might pick this up because it is a beautiful book, because it looks so pretty. And are you going to love it? Are you going to hate it? Well, that's up to you. That is really up to you in the end, because this is a book which you'll either find great enjoyment for or you won't find enjoyment for. And I know that is a very cop-out statement, but it's my feelings of the subject because of that. It is one of these ones where you have to decide on what's going on. You have to choose if this is going to be for you or not. If you want a full narrative, this is not going to be for you. If you want something that's a great palate cleanser or a good palate cleanser, this one would be nice. And I know nice is not a great word to use, but it's nice. One which will kind of get you off your weird kick and kind of reset you. The first two stories are definitely worth it. Story 3, you'll have some trouble with, and 4, the the meta twist in it, I'm not super yay. I was kind of like, what? And then I was kind of trying to compliment it and figure it out, but it just really didn't work for me personally. And because of that reason, I'm going to have to give this The Vanishing Cherry Blossom Bookshop by Takuya Asakura our middle of the ground rating of A Gift from Your Crazy Aunt Muriel. It's okay, but in the end, forgettable. It's a heartwarming yet melancholy iyashikei that breaks its spell with a meta twist. Beautiful, but in the end, it's outshone by its peers. They do so much more with so little. It's just so much of a difference in this one. This one, if there were some changes, I think it would have been a better book. But again, that is my opinion. And if you disagree with me or agree with me, you can email me personally at Zan, that's XAN at Spiraken.com, or tweet me at Spiraken. And while I do say that, there's a lot of great lessons in this book and a lot of great statements. And obviously, I'm going to do my last statement of the book, which is one of the best, which is going to be this is the amazing thing about the human imagination. You could say that through imagining them, such flows of time have come into existence. Words and the powerful imagination, human imagination, are that powerful. And that's true because through our imagination, we come up with these books, these statements which appear, and they bring us to worlds that are different. And this is one of those ones that does that. It can do that for you. Or maybe it can't. It's up to you. Let me know your thoughts. Email me personally, Zan at Spiraken.com, or tweet me at Spiraken. And with that in mind, as usual, if you're watching on YouTube, remember to like, share, subscribe, and click on that bell for notification for when we release new episodes, which is pretty much every Monday. I'll be releasing the Spiraken Book Club, and we'll talk about different books. If you're listening to our other podcast, the Spiraken Manga Review, that is on Wednesdays. I release it, and we've got some really good ones coming up, and I'm excited to talk about that. But what am I going to do for number 32? Well, let's go back and forth a little bit because B is a great one for authors. And I was like, should I do this? Should I do that? And I figured, why don't we go to straight up fantasy? Because the last fantasy book I read was Cold Hearted, which was a YA fantasy that was just a retelling of Cinderella. I need something different, so I decided to go with Legends and Lattes by Travis Baltree. Yes, we're talking about coffee, books, and orcs. Seem to be having a theme here with books. We've been talking a lot about books lately. But because we had Book Thief, we had this one, which is a bookshop. Starting to see a little bit of a theme here. But don't worry about it. We'll swap things up for C because I've got two really interesting ideas for those. But I digress. Anyway, as usual, I am your host, Zan. I am Gonzville. I'll catch all of you next time. And as always, keep reading books. I will see you later.